Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John, here you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. It is a Wall Pass Wednesday, which means pretty much anything's on the table. We do have a couple of things that we do need to get into. Happy Botafogo transfer ban day for those who celebrate, even though it's no real reason to celebrate. We'll update you on what we know, and we'll kind of go back a little bit to kind of bring us forward, because there was, in all of the stuff that was happening yesterday, and it was being announced about John Textor wanting to buy back and get back into the game, and Botafogo and transfer bans, and does it exist and does it not exist? And then you go to FIFA's website and you see that it does. I went back into our library and I went into our conversations that we have with our friend Jason Stevens about MCOs and how they exist and why folks put up with other folks and that kind of stuff. And I found a segment from about 2 months ago, and it has to do with John Textor when he was interested in possibly buying either Wolves or Sheffield Wednesday and trying to get back into the game when it came to European football. And it's about a 5-minute, how long is it? So it's about 5 minutes long. And it's a part of the conversation that when he mentioned it, it triggered some more thoughts in my head about the new pursuit of Botafogo. So we'll get into that at some point, probably in hour number one. Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, is going to join us at 10 o'clock to kick off hour number two. We'll break down what he thinks about what's been happening the last little bit. He's actually on the desk today because as we turn into January 1st, then you're gonna be getting into training camp in a couple of weeks, windows, transactions, all the things. And so Dylan's going to join us at 10. We'll talk Major League Soccer at 10 o'clock. Then we've got to get into, at some point in the day, we've got to get into AFCON and remind you about what happened yesterday. And then we're going to talk about the next, we're going to talk about what's happening today. Once again, it's 11-2. We'll get into your juice boxes there. The round of 16 is set. The teams are set. We just don't know the order. And there are a couple of groups today that wrap things up, and then we can get into the knockouts after this. So we'll get into AFCON from yesterday. Then we'll get into what to keep an eye on today and some of the stories of AFCON as we go. Yesterday in the Premier League, everyone is now officially throwing dirt on Aston Villa. After losing the way that they did to Arsenal, it's now a two-horse race. If you were to ask any pundit overseas, that's what they'll tell you. So we've got to get into that, what happened with the other results yesterday. You've got all of your trading set to go on with fees and everything and stuff to keep an eye on in the Premier League, so we'll get into that. So there's some other stories around. One in Canada, there's a coach that is taking his old team to court because he says they owe him an ish ton of money, and it's high six figures. And so we'll get into that and all of the AM news and all the other stuff to get you ready for today and tomorrow, because once again, no show tomorrow because it's New Year's. No show tomorrow because I probably wouldn't have a voice. And so we'll get into today and tomorrow with your morning news, and then we'll get you ready for New Year's Day. We'll be back on Friday, and the power hour that you traditionally have on Thursday is going to be with us on Friday with our buddies Nino and Nico. So Nino at 10 and Nico Moreno at 10:30, and we'll talk about the year that was and get into what's going to happen with the sprint and everything as we get into January, and everybody wants to pick up everybody else's players and spend a boatload of money. So that's Friday. Power Hour Friday, because of New Year's being tomorrow. We'll get you ready for the weekend in hour number one. We'll talk about previewing everything, Premier League, AFCON, all of that stuff. So once again, no show tomorrow, and we'll take care of your news today about today and tomorrow, get you ready for games and what to watch, where to watch it, all that kind of stuff. Opening kickoff is brought to us by our friends at the Morning Espresso. And for those that may not necessarily know, the Morning Espresso is our opening kickoff-y kind of thing. So the opening kickoff to our programming on the day is Morning Espresso, except on days like today because of Atlanta Soccer Tonight that was last night on 92.9, the game in the Odyssey app. And I will come in behind what Jason got to find out because the ratings book came out, and really it's stuff that we all know that there is an audience for intelligent conversation and thought and looking at journalism with a capital J and stories and all that kind of stuff. Can't thank all of you enough for making Atlanta Soccer Tonight over at 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app as popular as it is. So big shout out to all of you folks in 2025 and looking forward to more growth there with AST in 2026. Because of AST, traditionally, Morning Espresso does not exist on Wednesday mornings because, Jason needs to rest up for at least, 7 or 8 minutes. And so we end up being Morning Espresso and what we normally are on Wednesdays. But Morning Espresso is our lead into the day. It's all the stories that Jason has kind of come across that you need to keep an eye on, what happened yesterday that you need to remember and find out more information about. And you can subscribe to that over at soccerdownhere.net. And so Morning Espresso is our opening kickoff sponsor. It's a couple of things. So this morning, morning Ricky and morning D Graham. This morning is interesting here in Office HD because it was technically New Year's Day of 2012. So we're coming up on 14 years that I asked the boss to marry me. And, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, it kind of has that's a special kind of vibe to it, at least here in Office HD. And for those that don't know the story, it was we had dated a little over 2.5 years. So in the end of March will be our 17th anniversary, I think, of dating and such. So we go to the Peach Bowl on New Year's Eve of 2011. And it was, the old Georgia Dome. And so it was seats up in the rafters. And the boss actually sprained her ankle walking up the stairs in the upper level. So we're hanging out, after the game. I think it was Auburn and Virginia, if I remember correctly. So we're hanging out after the game, and the Georgia Dome being what the Georgia Dome is at the time, you're tailgating behind chain link fences and things like that. So roughly 11:30, 11:45, we start hearing noises that really aren't conducive to tailgating anymore. So everybody's like, "Oh, I guess we're leaving." So we leave. And thank you, Ropes, and good morning. So we leave the dome, the Georgia Dome, and it is like one of those stunts that you had in college growing up. How many people can you jam inside a car? So, we jam a bunch of folks inside of the boss's car, and we're dropping them off at various New Year's Eve, New Year's, New Year's Day celebrations and such. And so, New Year's Day, I asked the boss to marry me. And so it was New Year's Day of 2012. We got married January 12th of 2013, 1/12/13. That's the easy way to remember it. I can't even screw that up. So asked her to marry me New Year's Day. And so it's got its own little special vibe to it. And it was funny when I asked her to marry me. And then there's like people, the New Year's Day bowl games and all that kind of stuff. Before the CFP, where you actually had bowl games that just meant something and they started at like 11 o'clock in the morning. So we're going around to friends' houses and things like that. And she's having normal conversations with people. And she's trying to do the thing with the engagement ring, where she's trying to be overly expressive with her left hand. And she's at it for a while. And no one is remarking on the engagement ring. So she literally got to a point to where folks weren't paying attention to her. She's using her hands and everything and trying to show folks that there's something shiny here. No one's catching on. And so at our first stop of the day, she literally stopped in the middle of her conversation and just goes like this. And she just shoves the ring right in her friends' faces. And then all the screaming starts and all that kind of stuff. So I bring that up because we never know what the new year is going to hold. I knew what the new year was going to hold for me, hopefully, is that the boss would say yes on New Year's Day. And she did. And so coming up in 2 weeks, it's It's going to be our 26th or 13th anniversary. And so, don't get me wrong, I'm already starting to try to figure out and go, okay, so what's 13? It's like it's 13 pieces of paper or it's 10 plus 3. No, I'm already trying to figure that stuff out. So it's like lace and citrine and things like that, trying to figure that out coming up in 2 weeks. But I bring that up because you never know what the new year is going to hold. You never know when there's going to be a pleasant surprise. You never know when there's going to be something that you've really got to think about. And New Year's Eve is that last chance to look back on the year that you had and kind of take stock a little bit. And so, for those of us here at SDH, if you look at things from a New Year's perspective in that way, there's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot to grow on, but there's a lot to be thankful for. I mean, covering Club World Cup and covering all of the events that we get to cover and going all the places that we get to do, whether we're talking college or high school or Atlanta United or the Twos or Club World Cup or anything that comes across our bow. And, we are incredibly blessed and thankful that you guys have been along for the ride with us. And obviously, we couldn't do it without you. So we're very thankful in that regard as we get ready for the World Cup and all the things that are going to be coming up here in 2026 and all the things that are going to be coming up in 27 all the way to 31. And it's just a very, very blessed time across the board for us in the SDH sense, but also for everything that we get to see on a daily basis, whether it's with our families, with our friends, with y'all, the plus ones and the A-listers. So it's just one of those days where you get to kind of think about it a little bit and then, okay, what do you do going forward? You build on it. You try to do your best to build on it, and you work your way into the next year, which will be year 9 for us. At the end of January, it'll be year 9 that we start with the network. So there's a lot to be thankful for in both a family sense, at least for me, and I could probably safely say for everybody else here at SDH, but at the same time, for those, just inside here in Office HD, for the boss and everybody here and all of our families. So that was something that came across my thought pattern this morning as we were trying to come in this morning and let you know what was in our brains. So that's number one for opening kickoff. Couldn't thank you guys enough. 2, and this is where I kind of need your feedback here a little bit. We live in a part of town that has a lot of teenagers. And because of the way things are right now with teenagers, you have to pardon me. I'm going to be hydrating a lot this morning, so you'll have to pardon the hydration breaks. So we live in a part of town with a lot of teenagers, and with fireworks being fireworks these days, where you don't have to leave at what 12:30 in the afternoon, like you have lunch. You find a state line, you go to Alabama, you buy a boatload of them, you bring them over, then you have your celebrations at midnight, etc. So since you don't have to do that anymore, and fireworks are readily available, and we have teenagers in our neighborhood, we have a facility next to our subdivision. We have a place next to our subdivision where they want kind of a controlled environment. Hey, if you want to do something, don't do it, in the woods or anything like that. Come here and you can use our parking lot. And so, and I mean, this isn't something that they wait until, 11:30 or anything like that to do. On nights where fireworks are encouraged, they're starting uh probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. And so, say 7:30, 8 o'clock, and yes, I am inside the perimeter. I am an ITP, or as David is. Uh, I live ITP, and we got noise starting like 7:30 at night, and it's because of the teenagers and wanting to have some fun. So they'll start about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then there's like this, and it's almost like the timing at Stone Mountain, where Stone Mountain at sundown in the summer, they have the fireworks display and all that kind of stuff. It's like clockwork. So the teenagers in our area, they go to this one particular parking lot. and they launch into, I mean, it's like they bought up all the fireworks in Alabama, brought them over to this parking lot, and they are off and running at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they don't stop for a while. We have here in the house an individual, not named me or the boss, who's kind of skittish. And I mean, it's more than kind of. Rowdy hates fireworks. And the heavy duty stuff that the teenagers bring over to the parking lot, because we have houses that are right next to each other and there's not a whole lot of space in between, and we live in a condominium townhome area. You know, you have all of the homes that are right next to each other, and you have the condos that are locked in. So when they bring out the heavy artillery over at the parking lot, everything reverberates off of all of the homes, and you can feel the glass shaking and all that kind of stuff. And it gets to a point. Now, Abby, we've tried. We've tried thunder shirts. We've tried headphones, and it is just to a point to where we have to kind of keep him close to us. And we, it's usually it's cover him with a blanket and hang on to him, and then we wait for things to pass. And like I said, they treat it like it's Stone Mountain Park in the summer, and they go for like 15, 20 minutes, and it is heavy duty all day long. All night long, they're launching everything, and you can feel the vibrations off of the homes and everything. And the fact that we are right next to this parking lot doesn't help. So it gets to the point practically every year where I will leave the house. I will walk over to that parking lot, and I will kind of cock my head sideways, and I will ask these people, "Are you done yet?" Because we got folks inside the house that are intimately afraid of what you're doing, and they are shaking, and they're in a corner, basically. Can you stop? I don't want to be that guy, but I'm kind of that guy. And so with all of these heavy duty fireworks that they have and not really, paying attention to the rest of the folks in the area, I was going to ask a question. And this is ropes. This is more outbound than Trazodone, because I don't want to create a situation with the rowdy man where he's he doesn't quite respond well to things in his stomach and all that kind of stuff because he won't eat, and he's not obviously going to be having water or anything like that. So literally, it's like he gets this look on his face like, "Get me the blank out of here." So what I wanted to ask was this: is there in your mind a suitable retaliation that won't get anyone in trouble, that won't get an adult in trouble, for trying to cause a premature end to all the fireworks? Like if I had a water hose and doused all of the fireworks that they had ready to go, is that a suitable retaliation to get them to stop early? So I pose that question to you, faithful A-pluser, A-lister, number one. Is there a suitable retaliation that you think I could get away with so they would be stopping their fireworks displays and fireworks exhibitions? I mean, it's loud, it's thunderous. It is out of control at times. And then they and they treat it like, the professionals, where they start out slowly and they build and they build and they build, and then they have the finale, and the finale is literally 3 or 4 minutes of just heavyweight, just dropping noise and a lot of bass and a lot of explosions and everything. I was wondering aloud, is there a suitable retaliation that would get them to stop prematurely? That wouldn't get an adult in trouble, mind you, other than the youngins sitting there and going, "Come on, old man, what's wrong with you?" Well, what's wrong with me is that we have a very, very skittish animal here that doesn't handle prescriptions well, no matter how we try to hide it. And so I was wondering if there was a suitable retaliation that could get them to stop early. Like I said, short of maybe I'd love a fire hose, frankly. If I could talk to the fire department here in town, and it's like, "Can I borrow your fire hose for a minute?" And just kind of sit there and do the bath like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You sit there and just going to go into the ring. Something like that. So I was wondering if there was a suitable retaliation that an adult could get away with when it comes to everything New Year's Eve-ish and New Year's Day, because they'll do it New Year's night too, because it's still January 1st. So that's what I wanted to ask if there was a thought in your mind as I pose it to you on a Wall Pass Wednesday. And once again, these are the things that kind of enter my head in the midweek. So I'll ask Dylan at 10 o'clock, but I wanted to ask you guys first. Suitable retaliation or set up to make sure that fireworks could end prematurely. Dousing the fireworks is probably the best thing, but I'd have to have a nice fire hose, and I don't know if I could borrow one quickly enough to use it for the proper water pressure to just destroy the fireworks. So that's there you go. So that was what I was. That was those are the things that were in my head this morning for opening kickoff. Yes, one having to do with the turning of the calendar, and one having to do with all the noise involving the turning of the calendar. So that was that's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at opening kickoff. And Jason and Oglethorpe University, once again, can't thank them enough for helping us out and being a great partner here at SDH. But those are the things that I wanted to sit there and kind of think about and go, okay. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And Abby, the red flag warning, definitely. Because I saw that yesterday. And I'm like, okay, great. Red flag warning for fireworks. Fantastic. That's a great mix. So here you go. All right. Here's what you guys have thought early. And so don't have any noise canceling things in the house. And what we try to do, Abby mentions this, and this is what we do. We do, in fact, is we try to, with whatever's on television, we always try to distract him. So it's probably going to be football, and we'll have the football volume up a little higher than normal. And we'll try to do it on the top level as well. So we try to drown out that noise on the outside, but just the reverberations from us in the bowl that we live in addition to the homes on the main road and the bowl that we have where everything just literally it reverberates off of everything and you feel the glass shattering. Because I'm literally, what, as the crow flies, probably a good 75 yards from where they launch. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. They're in a parking lot and they launch it straight up into the air, but it's still just the reverberation, and there's really not a whole lot of height to it. So it goes up into the air, it reverberates, and it bounces off of all the glass. So that was why I wanted to kind of bring that up this morning. But yeah, we do crank it all up. Morning, Alex. So Abby is like, with the fire hazard, would hope it won't happen. Supposedly, the fire hazard ends at the red flag warning ends at 7 o'clock tonight. Ropes, I'd love to take an extinguisher over. That'd be great. That would be fantastic. You take a fire extinguisher over, you just sit there and you go, drown them all out. I love that. David's like, go say anything and be like John Cusack. Roll out with the boombox on the shoulder, play the most offensive music they can think of, like ABBA. ABBA's not offensive to me. I would enjoy that. But yeah, trying to think of like, Tchaikovsky or Mozart or something, just kind of go out and just anti-program it and chase them away. It's like, play the most annoying music possible to them. But then it would probably, they'd probably sit there, whatever annoying music you would like, they would probably sit there and go, oh yeah, I dig that. So knowing just my luck anyway. But David likes the say anything vibe. Abby's check the DeKalb County website. You have every right to call the police with a fire hazard. That's true. So yeah, if it's after 7 o'clock and they're being silly, maybe it's just. Yes, I'd like to report a possible violation of the red flag warning, please. So that would be something that would be in there. So that's early thoughts. So keep those coming. If there's anything that you guys think of that would be a suitable challenge to the fireworks aficionados that will be launching their fireworks hopefully after never. But they usually go like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then that's the first wave, and then they'll do stuff at midnight too. So that's kind of where we are. So good morning, D. Graham. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Ropes. Morning, David. And morning, Abby. Morning, Alex. And let's see. So there's David and Alex and Abby. Okay, so morning, y'all. And like I said, just keep those ideas coming for everything. Opening kickoff brought to us today by our friends at Morning Espresso and our friends at Oglethorpe University. So thanks to them. Okay, yesterday, I know that Ricky, he saw what happened yesterday, and he's like, If we finish top 4, I'm good. And this is the thing. It's like it's so reactionary after what happens yesterday, where it was a thumping. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's like, oh, it's a 2-horse race now. Premier League, you end up with the beginnings of the transfer discussions. Arsenal puts 4 on Villa, wins at 4-1 at a -270. I legitimately thought that Villa was being completely disrespected with the number. The number, by the way, in the composite wrapped all the way up at a plus 663 for Villa to win, plus 424 on the draw. Wolves got another point yesterday, by drawing Manchester United 1-1. I'm sure that Drew's next 3D will reflect his calm demeanor that is attached to a result like that. Newcastle over Burnley 3-1. We might even talk to Dylan about that coming up in a bit. Prohibitive favorite at Turf Moor to -175. Chelsea and Bournemouth. Chelsea couldn't hold a lead. Enzo Maresca, it appears, Enzo Maresca is on the career dissipation watch at Chelsea. Fans are mad. Everybody's mad. Rawr! Can't hold a lead to Bournemouth. Bournemouth is not even your older brother's Bournemouth now, with what the Andoni Iraola has been doing, and even Eddie Howe when he started at Bournemouth, this recent era. Bournemouth is not Bournemouth that we're used to seeing. Now, if they could only expand the vitality, then they'd be in business. Everton shuts out Nottingham Forest 2-0 at a plus 329. I thought that was a bit big. So that was your big underdog play yesterday, if you were looking for a straight-up win. And then West Ham and Brighton. West Ham gets a point by drawing Brighton at a plus 263. So, the shocks down low, I don't think that this does anything to preserve Nuno Espirito Santo and his future. Because here's how it is. Once again, this is the halfway point of the season in the Premier League. So Arsenal 5 points clear, but once again, Manchester City match in hand. And so today, Manchester City goes to Sunderland in the Stadium of Light, or goes tomorrow to Sunderland Stadium of Light. And so that'll be the matchup for them. So match in hand, 5 points back. Villa is, with the loss, they stay at 39 points. And so everybody's like, oh, it's a 2-horse race. Remember, Arsenal has dialed back in the past. They've come back to the pack. Don't know if that's going to happen this year, but it has happened. Chase Group, Liverpool is now unbeaten in 5. They've won 3 in a row. Coming in at 32 points. They're at match in hand. And they have the opportunity to close their distance with Aston Villa next time out for them. Chelsea's in 5th. They're at 19 matches. Manchester United behind in goal difference at 30 points. They're in 6th. Sunderland match in hand, unbeaten in 3. They're at 28 points. Goal difference has them above Everton. Brentford's in 9th match in hand, 26 points. They have scored more goals than Newcastle. They have a match in hand, and they have one more win, unbeaten in their last 3. Newcastle is hitting each column once in their last 3. They had played their 19th match. And then Crystal Palace has lost 3 in a row, and they have match in hand at 26 points. And Fulham has match in hand as well. They've only played 18, but they've won 3 in a row to get to 26 points. And they are in 12th. Spurs at 25 points. Goal difference has them ahead of Brighton. Bournemouth with the draw. They've drawn 4 of 5. And so Bournemouth at the halfway point, 23 points. Leeds match in hand at 20 points, unbeaten in 5. So it looks like Daniel Farke has found something in the form of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And Forest has now lost 4 of 5. Forest has now lost 4 of 5. They're at 18 points. And they are, with Sean Dyche, 4 points clear of the drop zone. But West Ham's draw made it 4 instead of 5. They're at 14 points, 4 points out of the relegation zone. Burnley has, they had their 2-match unbeaten string. It was 2 draws. But they had that snapped with their loss. They're at the halfway point. 3 wins, 12 points. And Wolves getting their 3rd point of the year at the halfway point. 11 goals scored in 19 matches. They've given up 40. So it's like 2.1 allowed per match. And they still have no wins on the season at the halfway point at 0-3-16. That's not good. That is not good. So you look at the matchups today, and D. Graham, I think you're right. I think this is when the race actually starts. Crystal Palace Fulham, it's 4 matches today, 2 at 12:30 and 2 at 3. Crystal Palace is hosting Fulham at a plus 117, Fulham a plus 245. Liverpool tomorrow. This is tomorrow. Tomorrow stuff. So we're kind of working tomorrow as well. So nothing New Year's Eve day. Tomorrow, Crystal Palace, Fulham at noon or at 12:30. Crystal Palace plus 117 at Sellers Park. Liverpool tomorrow at Anfield, a minus 189 hosting Leeds. Leeds right now is a plus 479. 3 o'clockers tomorrow. Brentford hosting Tottenham at the G-Tech at a plus 116. Spurs are a decided underdog at a plus 227. Stadium of Light, Sunderland hosting Manchester City at a plus 640. Manchester City is a minus 256. And then that sets up everybody else, getting them ready for the weekend. And it is laying it all out right there. So that's your rundown of everything to get you into the weekend. Obviously, we'll preview the weekend as it gets back to normal, but you end up with 4 matches on Saturday, and then you end up with 6 matches on Sunday, and that means that you've survived festive fixtures. The last festive fixture Sunday at 12:30 is Manchester City hosting Chelsea. So that is your Premier League activities rundown. West Ham, according to our friend Ben Jacobs, confident of completing a deal for Adama Traore, and that is in concert and combination with Alex Crook from TalkSport. They traditionally are very, very busy this time of year. It is Celtic in talks with Bournemouth over a move for defender Julian Araujo. Crystal Palace are among the suitors for Jurgen Strand-Larsen. And once again, that lends itself to the Sam Surridge conversation. So does Sam Surridge continue to be chased after by Wolves heading into the January window? And so we'll kind of keep an ear out for all of that. And Maresca, by the way, pulled out of his post-match interview after the draw with Bournemouth. Media relations at Chelsea said that Enzo Maresca was feeling unwell. I would too if I finished up 2-2. And so it was a long day if you were a Chelsea fan. And a lot of folks are going, it was a bad month for Chelsea. You can't quite have the same thing happening in January if Enzo Maresca is going to keep his job, and the natural amount of patience that is attached to the Chelsea managerial position. Apparently, after the match, Unai Emery bolted and didn't do a handshake. And apparently, Mikel Arteta, after the 4-1 loss, was none too pleased. Basically, Unai Emery just turned and walked off the pitch, shook the hand of the fourth, took a quick look at Arteta, and then he went straight down the tunnel rather than shaking Arteta's hand. So then another angle goes on to show Arteta's perspective, goes onto the pitch following a huddle with his staff, looked toward the Villa bench, and Emery was already gone. Stopped in his tracks, and this is quoting TalkSport, frozen disbelief, with his head rapidly going back and forth toward the tunnel in the Villa staff. Eventually walked over to shake some of the other members of the staff, but not Unai Emery. As he walked further towards the officials, he could be seen shaking his head in disappointment at Unai Emery. Once again, this is from TalkSport, their verbiage. Clearly confused and frustrated after Emery's actions post-match. 3 points, goals from Gabriel, Zubimendi, Trossard, and Jesus. Ollie Watkins on his birthday getting the late consolation for Villa. So Unai Emery, in response, was asked about it. He says, "You saw it, but it's okay. It's all good. It's okay. It's part of the game, and it's not an issue." And then the Villa boss then discussed the incident, explaining why he ignored Arteta. After finishing the match, my routine is always quick shake hands. I was waiting. Of course, he was happy, but he was with the coaches, and I can't wait for him. I was there, but no problem. I went to my dressing room. So right now, Arsenal is taking a peek at everything, and they're on top, and they're looking down at everybody else in the standings. Brendan Johnson, once again, close to the Tottenham exit. The club record deal has been agreed to. $35 million to Crystal Palace. Bournemouth and Everton were chasing. Andoni Iraola has said that he is somewhat confident that it's going to not be Antoine Semenyo's last match this weekend, even though he did wave goodbye to the fans after the 2-2 draw. So you're looking at that coming up this weekend as well. So Jurgen Strand-Larsen handed a West Ham alternative. I just don't know about that. I just literally do not know about that. I mean, if you're trying to do a Jurgen Strand Larson a solid, I get it, but you know, Wolves are Wolves, and they've only got 3 points on the season, 3 draws, no wins. Goalless, I mean, winless after their first 19. Halfway point of the season, no wins. And so, one of the dudes that can put you in a position to score goals, you're like, not so fast. So we'll see what it looks like there. Ropes, being the intrepid producer that he is, right? And so so since Ropes has brought this up, we'll go ahead and go here. No, there is, and we've been talking about this a lot, and we talk about it a lot on purpose with what's going on with Botafogo and how they operate really on a daily basis. And so, to update everybody, I mentioned somewhat tongue-in-cheek off the top, happy Botafogo transfer ban day for those who celebrate, because today is the day that the transfer ban, and it is 3 windows that Botafogo cannot register any kind of transfers because of the judgment that came down against them in regard to Atlanta United and the Thiago Almada transfer. So you look on FIFA's website, and it is right there plain as day that you go right here, and I'm gonna see if I can work with technology this morning. So I'm gonna go here and say this. Let's see if it actually has functioned. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to FIFA. It says literally, "Welcome to the FIFA registration ban list." And what do you got? You've got a ban, and it's Botafogo. And when you go down this list, it's really interesting because you're looking at a bunch of different things, and you're like, man, Botafogo is on this list, and there are others on this list too. And you end up with the idea that you're not alone in all of this. So let me go here. Let me screen share it. There we go. There it is. Plain as day. The FIFA registration ban list. Right there on it is Botafogo. Botafogo, you do the search, and let me take my name out really quickly because that's kind of we'll leave it there. Why not? So right there, that is that is what that looks like. So you end up with Botafogo on the registration ban list. So they are there, and some interesting other folks are there too. It's like Charlotte's on there, and a couple of other folks are on there from Major League Soccer, but they'll get that figured out eventually. So it was intriguing to see that happen. So here's the deal as we know it. Yesterday, it was mentioned once again, Botafogo, they owe roughly $30 million to Atlanta United because of the missed payments, and it was 2 separate judgments that FIFA had against Botafogo or Eagle, however you want to phrase it, for failure to pay. It was supposed to be 10 separate payments. Botafogo/Eagle missed the first 2, and so Atlanta United was like, fam, we're done. You violated the terms of the agreement, and they've gone through all the legal channels. So you get to that point with FIFA where now, as of the 31st, Botafogo is on a 3-window transfer ban until they get this sorted out. They came out with a statement yesterday, and they claim, quote, regarding the recent FIFA sanction on player transfers, Botafogo informs that in recent weeks it has held constructive talks with representatives of Atlanta United of MLS seeking agreement related to the Thiago Almada case. The talks were paused due to the end-of-year break and will resume soon. Botafogo hopes to have the matter resolved before or at the beginning of the transfer window. The club will be very active in signing players in January of 2026. So if we go to Brazil, then we can spell transfer window. Brazil transfer window 26. If we go Brazil transfer window 2026 soccer, we do that. And so You look at transfer window registration. No, that's not the country that I was looking for, but thanks for that anyway. So if you look at transfer, okay, so here we go. Winter transfer window dates in the major leagues. And so Brazil starts January 5th. Goes January 5th to March 3rd. So that's what you're staring at with the dates that they claim that it'll be resolved by. In and around or near January 5th was at the beginning of the window. So, I mean, if you're not banging on the door like January 5th at midnight, it may not necessarily make that big a deal. But January 5th is the beginning of the opening of the Brazilian transfer window. So you've got that as your marker. January 2026, they say they're going to be active, resolved before or at the beginning of the transfer window. So January 5th is what you're staring at. So what is January 5th? January 5th, if we look in our calendars, as I sit here and stare at January 5th, so that's Monday. So Botafogo is saying on or before Monday will be good. So 3 transfer bans, 3 consecutive windows, and they have also sacked David Ancelotti. So right now, that's where Botafogo is. And you end up with some folks saying in Brazil that there was an agreement. No, there is no agreement that is on hand between the parties that are engaged in this back and forth, which really should not be a back and forth. I mean, this should be legitimately outdone and gone. This should be dead. This is like done. And so you end up with, right now, John Textor back in October. He went to CAS to dispute the fee owed, challenging FIFA's order that it has to pay the full amount after the first 2 installments went unpaid in 24. After the October hearing, CAS upheld the FIFA published verdict of its own judge's ruling and said Botafogo had, quote, asked for more time to, quote, sort it out, when the Rio-based club replied to MLS's first request for an overdue scheduled payment on behalf of Atlanta. FIFA's verdict shows Botafogo was due to make $3 million payments to Atlanta in July and September of 24 towards settling the full amount by September 26. Remember, this is the 10 separate payments that were supposed to be there. First 2 were missed. MLS sent default notices to Textor's club. John Textor decides he wants to kick it down the road and try to go to as many different places that he thinks he can challenge as he could. FIFA, nope. CAS, nope. December 9th, everything's done. And I was trying to figure out earlier in the week where else could he have gone to, trigger any kind of further discussion on the deal. Answer, nowhere. And so right now on the FIFA registration ban list, Botafogo is there. Fans are pissed. And so you have, with everything that's going on, stuff that you've got to keep an eye on involving John Textor. And John Textor and Eagle, remember, going back to August, Jason Stevens at MCO Insights, Marinakis and Textor to unite MCOs. Aries Management now controls Eagle Football Holdings. The thing to remember about Aries, and this is where we get into the business of soccer. Right now, Aries, who is a large assets under management investment manager, asset light, fee centric. So they don't really do anything with the assets themselves. They're more into, okay, we've got an asset, we see an asset, so what's it worth to you? And we'll help you out. And this is from our friends at the ESK.org. Aries firm strategy encompasses complementary primary, secondary investment solutions across 4 core asset classes: credit, real estate, private equity, and infrastructure. They have $500 billion in assets under management Largest operation is the credit group. $377 billion across the global credit universe, specializing in liquid and illiquid strategies. I'd love to know what an illiquid strategy is. They established their sports media and entertainment investment vertical during COVID in 2020, understanding professional sports leagues and clubs as a novel class of assets requiring creative, flexible capital solutions. Led to the closing of a dedicated fund for this strategy, securing $3.7 billion. Engagement in association football provides clear insight into how Ares' sophisticated credit group structure, high growth, often high risk, and they have three separate ways that they attack this stuff. High risk and opportunistic debt. You see that particular column, and what do they mention? Eagle football. High risk, opportunistic debt. The provision of mezzanine style loans, up and up and up and up, at exceptionally high interest rates, up to 19.4% to Eagle football, the holding company controlling Lyon. This is back late October. This goes into the conversation that we're going to play here in a bit, having to do with Jason Stevens and John Textor. Secured by stringent security arrangements, $450 million default in October of 25. Secured by stringent security arrangements, including the equity stake in Crystal Palace, which Ares successfully leveraged for clawback recovery. So there's a property, and Ares goes, okay, in this one of three ways that they do business. They see a property. They see an owner that has a property. Tell you what, you want to keep your property, we'll loan you money. But the interest rate is going to come back and bite you. Depending on how desperate that owner is, they'll either sit there and go, nah, thanks, fam, I'm good, I'll go someplace else. Or if they're really hurting and they really need to have the capital around, they'll succumb to that interest rate. So Ares charged Eagle for operating capital upwards of 19.4% interest. It's not that Ares is interested in the physical property, but they're interested in making a buck. And so you end up with the default in October, and it was secured by the equity stake in Crystal Palace. So then Ares gets a piece of Crystal Palace out of the deal. Not that they necessarily want that piece of Crystal Palace, but they now have this tangible property that they can in turn flip to try to recover their own debt because someone else was going to be interested in that kind of stuff. Hey, we've got this piece of Crystal Palace, who's interested? Somebody comes knocking on Ares' door. And then they're like, okay, cool. You know, what's it worth to you? This has a market value of X, and this is where they try to recoup their losses. And then they also do it with infrastructure finance, like they did with $500 million to Blueco at Chelsea, and then strategic equity in Atletico Holdco, the majority shareholder of Atletico de Madrid. So they can look at it as a long-term investment, and they can look at it as infrastructure financing because of everything that Chelsea's doing, live, work, play, the hotel, all the other things, all the other pieces that are there. Or they see somebody that really needs money, charges them a high rate, and then if the individual or the group defaults, they end up with a piece of the action, and then they can flip that piece of the action to somebody else to try to recover the money that they loaned out in the first place. But also keep in mind right now that Ares is in discussions with CVC, yet another piece of this, CVC Capital Partners. Over the last 2 months, they've been trying to figure out a merger, building an empire, Global Sports Group. So Global Sports Group, they're not buying clubs. Every league that they have a piece of becomes an asset. CVC right now is in La Liga, Ligue 1, the WTA, Six Nations Rugby, a couple of other rugbies, Premiership and URC, Volleyball World, worth about $13.6 billion for CVC. What they do is they restructure. In 2025, they restructured their sports platform with Ares to reduce borrowing costs, unlock liquidity, and extend hanging on to assets. CVC manages about $200 billion in euros, 200 billion euro globally. 13.6 of that sits in sports. The portfolio delivered 20% and returns, according to Sports Business Journal, from 22 to 24. And according to Football Capital Insights, they view it this way. Sport is an alternative investment class. Sovereign wealth funds, family offices, and institutional capital. It's about who builds the structure behind the league, according to this particular group, Football Capital Insights, and their analysis. CVC got in there first. Media rights, equity, and finance, you put it under one umbrella. Broadcast deals turn into scalable assets. And then you open the door for folks like Apollo and Fenway Sports Group. And so sports as we know it are assets. Capital is turned into leverage. And so you end up with all of these things as a part of portfolios. Don't look at sports as a fan, look at it as an investment. That's what folks like CVC and Ares are doing. And Ares, with their piece of the action over refinancing the portfolio, is leading to this global sports group syndicate. And the financing package on this, you get favorable terms on it because of the quality of assets that you have in your portfolio. 13.6 in value. Ares, Dolphins, Messi and Friends, Chelsea, Atletico, Sale GP. Ares sold their shares in McLaren that got them $4 billion. So they're looking at raising capital through investment in sports. They're not looking at it as wins and losses. They're seeing them as tangible assets that they can flip from one side to the other. And so Eagle, once again, with Iconic, Elmwood, and Ares, had 90% of Botafogo back in 2022. Then you end up with now this idea under Eagle of John Textor wanting to buy back Botafogo because he currently can't have any say in the day-to-day. He wants to create this second entity away from the English version. And I know this is a lot of economics, and I know that it's like, you know, who's doing this and who's doing this and who's doing this. And I know it's a lot of economics, and I know it's a lot of players. But you've got the folks at the top of the game looking at all these investments and going, oh, okay, so you want to further your investment. Fine, we'll loan you the money, but it's going to be at a big rate. And that's where John Textor has fallen into this. Eagle, as of 4 months ago, August. 4 months ago, almost 5. Ares forces Textor to sell his stake in Crystal Palace, sold to Woody Johnson for £190 million. Ares got most of the proceeds of that sale. Eagle, $1.2 billion in the hole. Total debt, half of that owned to Ares Management, including $159 million at a 19.4% interest rate. That's how desperate Eagle and John Textor were to hang on to Crystal Palace. For operating capital in early August, 19% interest rate, I'm in. He's also $75 million to Iconic, and Iconic was the one that they're suing back and forth from England and Florida. 11% interest rate there. Stadium assets up as collateral. Botafogo, once again, the LLC, 90% there. Then the social club gets 10%. Back in July, once again, precautionary seizure of the Bidco shares. Court action initiated by Botafogo's own legal team to protect him from a financial exploitation. $27.2 million owed by Eagle to Botafogo. And we mentioned earlier this week that he's looking for more funding and to get it done quickly. I imagine because of the transfer ban. You're looking at $27 million. Assets have been frozen. The stake in Botafogo. Eagle can't sell, transfer, or negotiate until the debt is settled. So with Textor trying to bring money in, he can't do anything until that money is in. He's got to appease the debt that's currently there and what he owes Atlanta United. If it's one and the same, then it's just the $31 million. If it's two different things, you're talking $58 million. And it prevents a hostile takeover with the assets being frozen. And so keep an eye on Evangelinus Marinakis and John Textor. Is Evangelinus Marinakis the one that is floating the money that could keep Textor in the game down at Botafogo? It's after 10 o'clock. I filibustered. I talked a lot about economics of sports and guys that own things. Our buddy Dylan Butler knows about guys who own things and are not happy about it until he sells. And we bring Dylan in. And, so we did the economics of soccer this morning because of John Textor and transfer bans and paying and needing to pay Atlanta United about $31 million and using the wimpy philosophy of financing. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a 19.4% interest rate today. So that's kind of where we've been this morning.
I have a question for you though, John, and it's been a while. Glad to be back here with you.
Yes.
Is there anything other when we talk about takeovers?
Yeah.
Isn't it always hostile? I feel like there's no other.
There's no friendly
takeover.
Yeah. There's no friendly takeovers.
Right.
It's a takeover is always. I would think that a takeover is something that is done against your wishes. Therefore,
it's not like a sale is different, right?
Yes.
A sale is like, all right, we're selling, it's all good. But a takeover is just right away. It's hostile.
Yes, it's just on its.
Like, I'm taking this away from you.
Okay,
that's very hostile of you.
Well, it's like that's very friendly of you. Thank you. That's very neighborly for you to take that off of my hands. So, yeah, I mean, it's a mess, and we thought it was important to try and analyze the mess in and of itself and understand where folks are coming from in their financial positions to understand how crazy it is that sometimes these folks are still allowed to function as owners. But if you have folks with a lot of money and a lot more money than you and I would ever have in like 19,000 lifetimes, if they see sports as asset instead of, oh, hey, look at that. You own a soccer team. No, it is an asset. And you've got these dudes with a boatload of money seeing folks who are kind of flopping around, not really doing well economically. Then they're going to come in and look at the asset and, hey, you want to keep this afloat? You want to keep this asset going? Then we're going to give you X amount of dollars, but we're going to charge you an incredible interest rate. And that's what Textor is having to deal with right now at Eagle with Palace. And he said he wants to spin Botafogo off and he wants to get back into the day-to-day control of it. And he's under a transfer ban right now because he hasn't paid his debts. And he's kicked the can down the road to about 19 different courts. And I'm being facetious, but I mean, it's like FIFA and CAS. But that's what you have to understand these days is the economics of it all. And that folks are in the game still because of their other businesses, not because of what they necessarily own when it comes to sports. Yes. Nothing like Econ 101 on the day to end 2025, Told you, Wall Pass Wednesday, brother. All right, so I wanted to bring you in on the last day of 25 to discuss what's been going on in Major League Soccer. And it has been a busy last month or so. And you've got folks moving. You've got Schaffelberg going to L.A. You've got Justin Hack leaving NYC, and he's going to L.A. He's going to L.A., and the keeper runaround that we've had and all these kinds of things. When you look at all of these deals that have been going on even before the window kicks in and before we get to training camp, what have you thought about what you've seen so far?
I think it's been an interesting start. I think the Galaxy have gotten better for sure. Like they're the, I don't know what if you do a horse racing analogy, like what is the quarter pole? I don't know, like whatever the pole would be, like
the quarter,
right, like in this. And remember too, it's February 21st. That's coming pretty quick. So it's not it's a sprint really of a off season, if you will, and that's not even including obviously CONCACAF Champions Cup teams, and pretty much in a couple of weeks teams are already reporting for camp. So I would say right now the Galaxy are the leaders there, right? They obviously identified a weakness in defense, right? And
you and I are sitting there going, well, duh.
But they have an MLS Defender of the Year winner, who they have now in their books, and they have a guy in Justin Hack who really versatile, right? Like I think they see him, or at least in the release they mentioned him as a midfielder. Certainly he started with NYCFC as a midfielder, but then he moved to center back. But now you've got a guy who could do both, right? Like a James Sands type, right? So a guy there who is good with moving the ball and being a ball winner as well. So I think those are positives for them. And certainly, you look at Ricky Pooch coming back as well, right? And that's a huge addition for them. So I think the approach that the G's made with last year and the way everything went, I think it went a little bit against the grain, right? Because we would be on here, and at least probably once a month, you were asking about hot seats and whose seat, and we saw a lot of changeover in terms of coaches. But I like, the mentality they had. Like, listen, we have these injuries, we messed up a few things here, but let's stay the course, and we'll be better in 26. And I think that's a team that will be.
So then what would be your New Year's resolution for NYC?
I drove by it the other day. I guess
how is Dylan Butler Estates, by the way?
It looks good. It looks good. I can't I was trying to think of the correct terminology, but like the steel portions of it, like you could see, like, when you see a construction, like, oh, I could see that's the suites side, or that's the supporters section. Like you could see already the maybe the outline or the structure, right, of it. So it's looking good though. It's looking good. They had a big it was it raining or snow? I forgot. It was a bad weather day, and I still saw like a crane moving over there. I'm like, all right, keep it going, boys.
Okay. You get to see the skeletal structure.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Yeah. Or even a little more than that. They're a little past that as well. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think Pascal Janssen did a terrific job, right, with the team, and it's a team. Yeah, of course, they lost to Miami, but look at what they were able to accomplish in the postseason, considering so many injuries they had. Right, like they lost a ton of guys, including one of the better, maybe not spoken enough about goal scorers in a league, right? And Martinez. So I think for them it's stay the course. Like yes, they lose Justin Hack to free agency, and that's you've got to fill that void. They've got a very good academy structure, but I think they need to certainly use the CFG resources and get some more players in. But I think they're in a good shape. I think when you look at the two teams in New York, certainly they're in a they're not making as many resolutions, I think, as the team across the Hudson River.
Okay, so since you went there, let's go there and talk about what's going on in Harrison, New Jersey. And Red Bulls not in the playoffs, and you were anticipating something of a seismic change. But what have you seen staring at Red Bulls getting ready for training camp?
Well, obviously, look, they started it off with bringing in Michael Bradley, right? So, I've been covering this league long enough to remember when Michael Bradley was a 16-year-old scrawny kid with his dad as the head coach in the bowels of Giant Stadium. So he has come a long way since then, and I've always thought that he had that soccer brain. Like you and I always, we deal with high school kids, and we talk about coaches' kids and just sort of how they're a little bit different, right, in their mentality. And you could always tell that too when he would speak, when he was, the captain of Toronto FC, and he had the same kind of cadence, right, as his dad when he spoke.
Yeah.
Which was measured, right? He thought of what the question was, what he wanted to say, and then he made a statement. So I like the idea of bringing him in as opposed to, I don't know, some guy from the German second division, or just kind of continue this. It seems like it's a bit of a cultural shift for this team. I don't think they're going to be all out energy drink soccer anymore. I don't. That's not the way that Michael Bradley played the game, right? So, I think it'll be interesting there. Now, there's other questions. They make, I don't know, a subtle change in terms of their name, right? Now they want to be known as Red Bull New York. They're all in on the RBNY.
They need to be on the jersey side of things. They need to
just we've said this before. I remember back when Red Bull purchased them, and that was a question. And I forgot who it was who answered it, but essentially the response was, and I think Jersey people aren't going to like this, but it was, from a marketing perspective, there's more cachet to the New York name than there would be to New Jersey. So,
I mean, I get it, but if you're fighting a team that's in the Bronx for that kind of elbow room, and you're playing in New Jersey, lean into Southside Johnny, lean into Springsteen, lean into Jersey, lean into
100%, but also lean into Newark and the Brazilian population and the Portuguese population. And like, if you get those guys on board, right? Like, forget it. The Kearney area, just even in your own backyard, there's such a terrific soccer history. Like, you don't have to be the suburban soccer mom dads that you're looking at. Like, you could go heavy into, just what's around your area, and maybe as well in terms of signings, right? If it's the right signing, bring in this. I don't know. I didn't prep this ahead of time, so I could be very wrong, but I don't remember the last Portuguese player that they had of significance, at least, right?
Yeah.
What was so I think that's something that, maybe their brain trust could kind of look into a little bit and get some energy, no pun intended, but get it energized a little bit, right? Like, it feels stale right now.
And you don't have Carlos Cornell. He is looking for a home, or he had a home, and then he's like, nah, I don't like it. And so I think he headed back to South America last report. So you're going to have an interesting competition in net for Red Bull. You're going to have a new guy in charge that stormed through MLS Next Pro. And I guess the the New Year's resolution, I guess, for Red Bull and Red Bull fans is patience because of this change that you have with Michael Bradley, because of the folks that are no longer going to be there, because of the folks that have been either dealt to DC or sent on their way and not had contracts renewed, and how you try and reorient what you saw from Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting with what he was able to do, and then trying to get Forsberg back on track. It will be a challenge for Michael Bradley, and I'm intrigued. I really am with how this change will affect things there in Harrison.
Yeah, I would say patience on the supporter side, but on the other side, show those supporters who are long-suffering supporters that there is a tangible plan,
Yep.
right? Like, here's what we're doing. Here's the way we're going to operate it. February 21st, it won't look like we hope it looks in November, December, and even maybe next year it'll look different or better. But this is our plan, right? It doesn't have to say here's our 5-year plan, but like show that course, right? Of here's what we want to do, here's who we want to do it with, and here's how we want to play, and just give them a sense that it's not just leaning on a philosophy, but now we're not really leaning, like have almost like a mission statement, right? Like, here's what we're going to do, and then start to show signs of doing that.
When you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia, yeah, you won the pie plate, but you got found out in the playoffs. I think that traditionally, when it comes to Bradley Carnell, you're great in one-offs, but then if you've got to go series, you get found out and it turns into a problem.
Well, I would say too, I would put the same on again, kind of you go from one energy drink soccer team to the next who's gone absolutely, studs up into it. Um, does that style work in the postseason? And I haven't, like, it hasn't, right? Like, even if you look at the best Red Bulls teams, and you go back to Red Bull against Atlanta, right? When they were coming, I think they were the Shield winners that year, and you had, Tyler Adams and Bradley Wright Phillips and Aaron Long and all those guys. That team couldn't win the postseason. So I think that was the same that we saw from Philly, right? Like, good over the course of the full season, right? You're going to get the points. And really the story last year for a good portion of it for them was, getting the points off the teams that you should get points off of,
Yes.
but struggling a little bit against the better teams. And to your point, you get into the postseason where, it's not a one-off game. Yeah, they've struggled. It's what's the plan B? And there really isn't one, kind of, from playing that way.
And you look at everybody, Cincinnati, they kind of got found out too in postseason play. Then once again, you do great since he's kind of Philly Union light and tweaked a little bit. But I think the age at the back line kind of caught up with Cincinnati a little bit.
Well, and their best players disappeared in the postseason.
Yes,
like, where was Evander? Like, Evander, for a good chunk of the season, we were saying Evander was going to be the MVP, and he disappeared in the biggest of games.
And then you end up with Messi and friends doing Messi and friends things, getting the last game of the year, navigating the 127 matches they played. And when it comes to how they approach things from from an assembly standpoint, I'll phrase it that way and lead into it this way. How they assemble their roster and they take care of things creatively. Like I said, I'm choosing my words on purpose. Are you of the mindset of, good on the Moss brothers, good on Raul Sunleahy, good on them for figuring out creative ways to bring folks in under the current structure that Major League Soccer has? or are you kind of are you wagging your finger at them and going, you're not fooling anybody? Do you give them credit, or do you wag your index finger at Messi and friends for how they're assembling things?
No, I mean, you give them credit, and you put that as a challenge maybe to the other teams in the league, right?
Mhm.
It's like, listen, this is how they did it. Here's how they were creative about it. And you go and do the same thing, right? As we get forward and we see in the coming years probably more of a loosening of the salary structure.
You need a fourth DP. I mean, legit. Just go to 4 DPs to start things off, and
Or I mean, I don't mind the U22 stuff. Like
I
you
know.
could have that combination, whatever. But I hear what you're saying. But um, yeah, look, that's the way that they did it.
Mhm.
And now, you could, I for years this league has leaned on its parity, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Parity.
I don't mind it. I don't mind there being a separation
Yeah.
because now it's going to push, you would hope, the basement teams to be relevant and can everyone do what Miami has done? No, but that's also the case elsewhere, right? Not everyone in La Liga is doing what Barcelona and Atletico and Real Madrid are doing either.
Yeah.
But um, you have enough of those teams, so I think it's a challenge for others to maybe be. I always thought that too with CFG. Like I was like, all right, so what if they can just get what if NYCFC could just get some random, not random, but like get a really good Manchester City guy, like have him on loan, and that
Yeah,
and
you're bringing like an Oscar Bob or an O'Reilly or somebody
yeah,
like that needs reps. Get them over to NYC, let them build, and then CFG has that tangible asset that they can bring back and be ready for the Premier League.
exactly.
And I think that, to your point, if if you sit there and look, there are different ways to build a franchise in Major League Soccer. You have the way that Messi and friends build. I get it. You could also do what Philadelphia does and what Atlanta United does, and they build through their academy. Atlanta United more than happy to add folks and spending money to add veteran presence to those folks that you're bringing up through your academy system. Philadelphia, obviously, they bring their folks in through their academy. They don't spend any money. That's their way of doing it. But I also think, to your point, that if you are one of those teams that's not spending a whole lot of money, then if the challenge is laid to you, okay, you see what Messi and friends are doing. Do you want to do that? And you have ownership groups that are just kind of like, nah, it's not my speed. I'm fairly certain that in today's environment, you could find somebody that wants to go and they would buy one of those lower end spending franchises to be able to spend and get them up to where you see what you see out of Fort Lauderdale. I think that these assets are out there. And if you don't want to spend, I'm fairly certain that there's somebody out there who would if you don't want to do it anymore.
I would 100% agree with you. We see so many of these, even in like we see LeBron James and all these other guys like spending on Premier League teams.
Hmm.
Maybe they get with the World Cup and everything that's around it, maybe now there's more of an eye on ownership in Major League Soccer. There has been, obviously, um, to a smaller extent, but maybe that grows larger, or maybe now, like you said, there's those potential owners are seeing the growth of this league and the players that are in this league and seeing this league on the rise, and it's like anything else, you want to buy relatively low, right?
Yeah.
Before it gets too high, and then maybe sell later on, or at least get the buy-in, before it's too crazy. So I think you're still at that case probably for those. I mean, especially when you consider it against a Premier League team.
Tommy Scoops, as of about 17 minutes ago, Crew are finalizing a deal to name Hendrik Riedström the club's next head coach. Riedström, previously the manager of Malmo, won 2 league titles, currently out of work after leaving the club in September. And it was Russell Martin, former Rangers manager, not former Blue Jays and Pirates catcher, that was among the finalists for the gig. So it appears, so Riedström won league first 2 seasons with Malmo, as well as the 23-24 Swedish Cup, departed after Malmo finished 6th in his 3rd season. Previously head coach of IK Sirius and Kalmar FF, legendary player of Kalmar, 2 decades, 802 appearances. Riedström would take over for, and I'm saying would take over. The tense that Tommy Scoops is using is more active than what I will give until it is laid out there. Riedström will take over for Wilfred Nancy. Let's see, Swedish manager known for his attractive style of play too. Told Sky in 24 defensively, I wanted us to be close together. Everybody wants that. But then I started to think that what if we could be close to each other with the ball as well? Then we can start to connect and find solutions and progress from there. So Diego Rossi, Wessam Abu Ali, Max Arfsten, and it appears Hendrik Riedström it was going to be the new head coach in Columbus. And this is where we all go running into Google machines and YouTube channels and clips to try to figure out more about Hendrik Riedström, who will be apparently taking over in Columbus for Wilfred Nancy.
I mean, some of the things that you said to me sounds Wilfred Nancy-esque, right?
Yeah.
And that's essentially what you would want. Like, you saw a formula that worked really well for this team, for this group of players. When a manager leaves, you can't have a complete makeover, right, of a team.
Unless you're Forrest.
Fair. Yeah. So this is the group that you have, and here's how they play and how they've played well. So now let's go find a manager that can fit that profile. And again, I can't quite say that I've watched many Malmo games.
No. I mean, I have not, Malmo has not been on my saved locations for matches.
Yeah, with as much soccer as we're able to digest with streaming platforms and channels, somehow that league
somehow the Allsvenskan in Sweden is not on your prime
here yet. I don't know.
I mean, the Mjällby was a fantastic story, so it was that's a great story for the Allsvenskan. And speaking of keepers, because I know that I wanted to kind of talk about GK rotation with you, Fabrizio Romano, as of about an hour ago, Purple team set to sign Maxime Crépeau as their new keeper. With Dane St. Clair now at Inter Miami CF, both keepers will battle for the starting spot with Canada national soccer team ahead of FIFA World Cup 26. So let me see if I have this. Let me see if I have this straight. So
the musical chairs of goalkeepers.
Yes, absolutely. So we now have, apparently, according to Fabrizio Romano, Maxime Crépeau to the Purple team. Purple team had, Purple team had Galese.
Yes.
Let Galese's contract expire.
And he isn't anywhere yet.
Right. They had Carlos Coronel. Coronel was like, nah, fam, I don't think this is going to play. And so he went from being expired in Red Bulls to going to the Purple team to not showing up to the Purple team to heading back to South America. Dane St. Clair was
goalkeeper of the year
in Minnesota.
Yep.
They offered him more money.
Yep.
He's like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Goes to Messi and Friends. Messi and Friends initially did not renew the loan on Rocco Rios Novo, but then pick him up, and they grabbed 70% of his deal from Lanús, and so he wasn't there, but now he is, and so now it turns into St. Clair and Rios Novo and Ustari, and William Yarbrough, who was the fourth, is now looking for a gig. Then you've got, hang on, who am I missing here? Sean Johnson, who was in Toronto. Then he ends up in D.C. as a part of their spine, where they've picked up Ty Baribeau and one of the Neelis boys. I think it was Sean. that is now part of the new spine in D.C., and then Drake Callender, who was with Messi and friends, and he was sitting because he was trying to recover from injury, goes to Charlotte to be the 1A or 1B with Christian Kalina, as Zoran Kernetta and Dean Smith were trying to protect their flanks in case Kalina wanted to go back to Europe. Nothing happened. Kalina stays. Callender ends up going to Minnesota. Am I missing anybody?
I would say no. But that was that was like a shell game.
That's what I'm saying. That's
like
what
on Canal Street.
It was. And I mean, it was more than the 3 cups, but I mean, that's a lot of GK movement, man.
Yes. And still more to come, obviously, because you've got places that seemingly don't have the number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is Red Bull going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they going to go with their young guy and give him the reins? And granted, he's coming off an ACL himself.
Yeah.
AJ, right?
Marcucci,
yeah, who was very good during the Open Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting moving musical chairs here on the goalkeepers.
Moving them deck chairs when it comes to keepers. So you, sir, what did you get the pony or the llama that you asked for Christmas?
I'm looking out at my backyard. I'm glad that I didn't get either, because I don't think I mean, I have a decent enough sized yard, but it becomes a lot smaller with a pony and or a
llama. So how was the holidays for you, sir?
Good, quiet. Was under the weather the week before, but that allowed also for some needed time off and recharging the batteries, and the same was true of these 2 weeks. And a little bit of high school basketball on the Varsity Media YouTubes.
There you go.
But yeah, mostly just with family, which that's what you do right during this time. And I have the good fortune, I guess, of Christmas and my wife's birthday being 4 days apart.
Oh, so
we just and then my daughter's birthday on the other side on midway through January.
Is it a unidate for the boss when do you
No, she's never. That's I guess for those who have their birthdays as close to a major holiday, they probably all share the same. You never combine. It's like, no, these are 2 separate and distinctly different days,
just checking.
and never shall the 2 intertwine.
Okay, just checking, because some folks do the holiday combining, and I didn't know if the Casa de Butler was a combining household, or you had to celebrate it as 2 separate days.
No, it is 2 completely separate days.
Okay, just checking. When do we have a definitive date as to when the January transfer window opens for Major League Soccer yet?
Oh, I didn't look. I think
it's like late January is all I see, and it's like in quotation marks,
I did not see that.
Okay. Just out of genuine curiosity. I mean, we have the intra-league deals that we've seen. Schaffelberg from Nashville to LAFC. Sam Surge apparently is being courted, allegedly, possibly, probably, by Wolves, who seem to be wanting to get rid of Jurgen Strand Larsen at the same time. They ain't scoring any goals with him, so let's go ahead and swap deck chairs and see what happens there. Intra-league stuff I'm seeing. Haven't seen a whole lot of interleague things, but if you're not in training camp and somebody else is in a window, then that's what you're going. So you're on the desk today, is that right?
I am until about 2. Couple of moves already have been announced, it looks like.
Yep. Ethan Kohler to the Revs from Werder Bremen. Youth International returned stateside. As I sit here and I look at my releases. Club, 28-29 with an option for 2030. Let me go to the bottom of the sheet and find out what the terms are. Literally, it was just transferred from Werder Bremen. No financial terms disclosed. Spirit signing defender Lucia Guglielmo from AS Roma of Serie A in the NWSL. What were the others that I saw this morning? Hang on just a second before you get out of here. It was Nashville have completed a deal to sign striker Warren Madrigal, per sources. The 21-year-old
From the family Madrigal?
Yes, I guess so.
Wow.
Let's see. Plays for Saprissa. Last year on loan with Valencia. 6 goals and 25 caps for Costa Rica. And so Nashville needed depth at the number 9. He can also play wide. That comes from our friend Ben Wright. And then the other one that popped in this morning, Purple Team has acquired Paraguayan international midfielder Brian Ojeda from RSL. Luca Bendoni first to report that. RSL is getting $1.2 million in Garber bucks plus add-ons. 14 caps for Paraguay, 123 appearances in RSL. So you have Ojeda and Ojeda now apparently for the Purple Team, and you're going to need to kind of figure out how to get those dudes apart. Have I missed anything from what you've seen this morning, or did I run through everything that came across?
No, I think I think I will say I forgot who it was. Who is? Oh man, I forgot his name now. But I remember, was it Mitru? Matriciu, remember the NYCFC player? I feel like NYCFC years ago, maybe it's still in the early days, but they made a signing, like they wanted to be the first signing in the world in the new year. So
oh wow,
it was like announced, right at the stroke of midnight or something like that.
Matricia?
Maybe.
Alexandra Matricia. Okay, well, it says listed as February 4th.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't him then. Yeah.
So it wasn't him.
It was before that, but
okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. So
I'm hoping that nobody does that.
Yeah, really?
But I'm not gonna be on that late anyways.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like, let me do this. Let me go to the Googles before you get out of here and take it easy. Let's see. January 4th. Is there a reason they haven't signed anybody yet? Yeah, Cameron Nacito and Cooper Flax. Yeah, so we're sitting there and it's like we're trying to figure out who are we talking about. January 4th, 25. Is there a reason NYCFC hasn't signed anyone yet? I love these headlines. So it wasn't Matricia, but I'm sure that you'll remember it at like 2:00 in the morning, and then you'll text me.
Yeah,
I know how this works. I exactly know how all this works. So you're on the desk today. Do they launch fireworks in your neighborhood at like midnight and everything? Do all the incorrigible youngins do that?
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
It starts here at like 8:00, and it pisses me off because they scare the rowdy man, and So I was trying to.
I mean, it's I think the weather here at least helps that not happen, but I think it still happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was trying to come up with a suitable retaliation for the noises, and I was thinking fire hose, but I don't quite have a fire hose available. Folks were thinking fire extinguisher. It's something nice that you could get in and just douse the fireworks quickly. As always, my friend, thanks for 25. It's great to see you one final time before we turn the page to 26. And
yeah, same.
And then we'll keep partying on Wednesdays, and we'll keep talking about stuff as we get into training camp 2 weeks away. Stop talking to me. Go spend time with your family.
Yeah, I tell you, February. I'm still like, I've had for the most part, my Saturdays back, which are like, oh, I'm not working until 2 a.m. I'm not like a zombie on Sunday morning, but I'm like, February 21st is coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Coming soon.
7 weeks away, and then we're all sprinting before we get into covering the cup that the world is chasing after in 26. Thanks as always, my friend. It's great to see you.
Yes.
And go spend time with. So he's the number one dad today. The dad ingredients are what's there. So I will see yours with my Tennessee cup that I spent entirely too much on at a college football game. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
There's Dylan Butler, and it's always great to catch up with Dylan and get his thoughts about what's going on in the Northeast, Eastern Conference, one of the busiest men when it comes to everything in the Northeast. Varsity Media on YouTube. That's where you get to watch all of Dylan's high school stuff, and so go watch all of his high school stuff, because then I get smart when it comes to Cruton and all the schools in the Southeastern Conference. They go up in the northeastern part of the U.S. and bring all the talent down here. So that's how he gets smart. You watch Dylan, you find out what's going on up there, because when they come down here, you already have that knowledge base. You'll sit there and you'll win all the games with all of your friends when it comes to signing day. So who's this kid? Well, yeah, I watched on Varsity Media and he does this, this, and this. So that's what you do. It's early recon when it comes to college hoops and all the high school stuff that's going on. I mean, shoot, if he'd had a game with Ryan Puglisi from Avon Falls, Connecticut, you'd have known about Ryan Puglisi before he went down to the University of Georgia. So keep an eye on what's going on with Varsity Media. That way you can watch and become that person that knows a lot about everybody when it comes to signing days. Okay, so D. Graham made the point, and we did talk about Semla signing with Lexington with our buddy Kaylor Hodges from at the USL show. And if you missed that segment, we're posting the audio a little bit later today. That and the audio that we had with Casey White. We're posting those in addition to Dylan's stuff. We'll be posting that today and getting you through New Year's. But all right, so this was also something that we got into with Kaylor, is that right now the USL, this is the drop dead date. This is the expiration of the CBA. And it is Melanie Anzadeh had the article posted this morning over at The Athletic. And right now, you are looking at a 1.5 year long negotiation over a new CBA. And so you're looking at no agreement currently on the table. And right now, you are looking at a league and a players association that have been in negotiations since August 1st of last year. You're going into this season, when that starts, as of right now, with an expired CBA, an expired collective bargaining agreement. Contract set to expire on midnight. You could have a work stoppage coming in the new year. And so Tuesday night, final bargaining session of 25, according to Anzadeh, 38th session since bargaining began. The USL Championship players published an open letter on social media to their supporters, outlined how negotiations with USL HQ remain at a standstill, specified that HQ is separate from clubs themselves. Letter outlined 3 figures from 25 that they're focused on economically. Roughly 85% of the players did not have 12-month contracts. More than 25% of the players were not offered a health insurance option by their clubs. And about 25% of the players made less than $35,000 gross. That's before taxes. So the players, in turn, said the league has to take an active role in investing in and strengthening the USL Championship. Quote, "We're not asking for anything radical, asking for continued progress towards professional standards and livable wages that reflect the growth of the league we compete in every week. As our CBA expiration date passes tomorrow, we remain resolute in this pursuit, committed to bargaining in good faith," end quote. Talks are scheduled to resume January 8. 200 USL-affiliated teams across all levels, lower divisions. You've got Championship, League One, League Two, and the W League. You launched the professional D1 League, the Cambridge Super League, last year. Took the first step toward bargaining for their first CBA back in December. Players who spoke exclusively with Anzadeh and The Athletic hoped that the first negotiated contract would set a standard across all teams and allow the league to flourish, remain sustainable in the long term. That's Anzadeh's language. Also represented by the USLPA, the women's negotiations are separate from the men's teams. Meanwhile, USL Championship, second tier, launching the new D1 League by 28, implementing Pro-Rel with the tiered leagues. Men's side negotiations have zeroed in on several key issues, from mandating clubs provide players with health care, increasing compensation, and improving working conditions. Current minimum comp for USL Championship players is $2,600 a month over a 10-month deal. It's not a full 12-month gig. It's 10 months. And that figure can include other expenses such as housing or health care according to the terms of the 21 CBA. They want better baseline workplace conditions, having health security, health insurance, adequate housing, increased base comp, workplace safety. Duke Lacroix has been one of the larger voices in this through the Players Association. Credit their first CBA with pushing the league forward. The success, they argue, allowed the league to be in a place where the leaders are ready to build toward that D1 league. Joe Farrell, who announced his retirement after a decade in the USL, talked about his decision to retire despite offers to keep playing. He fell behind compared to former college teammates or high school friends who chose more traditional paths. They were able to build a 401k. Farrell sometimes went years without health coverage and lived in an apartment with roommates. His health coverage relied on whether the team he played for offered it. Quoting Farrell in the article with Anzaday, "We're not aspiring for millions, we're aspiring for a nice apartment." Began working more closely with the PA over the last 3 years, taking a role on the board of directors, still an active defender. It's not about myself, it's how I can help the boys and girls who want to be professional soccer players in America 10 to 20 years from now. Though the Super League and the championship players negotiate separately, they've learned from one another as they work their own bargaining tables. Instances where the women's players stood in solidarity with the men, especially on social media and vice versa. Super League also values the experience the men have already had in negotiations, so they use each other as sounding boards. Super League's business model revolves around providing more women's soccer players the opportunity to play pro soccer in the U.S. Remember, DC Power is trying to court Trinity Rodman. Thus, part of the rationale for the high-impact player rule instituted by the NWSL that the PA still has issues with. Men's contract expires on Wednesday. Either the league or the USL Championship players could opt for a work stoppage. Lacroix says their goal is to try to avoid that as much as possible. Preseason slated for mid-January. And so Melanie Anzaday comes through with that article about the USL and the USLPA. DC United looks like they're bringing in CFR Cluj forward Luis Munteanu. And Messi and friends are going on a Champions League tour. A couple of dates that are there. Alianza Lima, I believe, is one of the places that is lined up for that particular tour. So today, AFCON, let's get into that. 4 matchups, and then you start to get into the knockouts starting on Saturday. This is the last 2 groups, F and G. At 11 o'clock, Equatorial Guinea and Algeria. Algeria, big favorite at a minus 222. Sudan, Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's a minus 141. 2 o'clock, Gabon and Ivory Coast. No surprise, Ivory Coast is a minus 270. Gabon is a plus 763. Mozambique and Cameroon. It is Cameroon at a minus 172. Mozambique at a plus 500. We already kind of know the first 4 knockout games. 1 on the 3rd, 1 on the 4th, 1 on the 5th, 1 on the 6th. 2 o'clock on the 3rd, Mali and Tunisia. 11 a.m. on the 4th, Morocco, Tanzania. 11 o'clock on the 5th, Egypt and Benin. 11 o'clock on the 6th, Algeria and DR Congo. So we know who's in. We just don't know the order yet, especially for the 3rd place teams and where they're going to be in this discussion. So you have 2 teams at the top of the 3rd place rankings right now. Mozambique and Sudan, 3 points each. They're at the top of the 3rd place teams. Benin has 3 matches in, and they've already been settled, so they know where they're headed. So right now, Group E coming into today, Algeria at 6 points. Equatorial Guinea has not registered a point so far. Burkina Faso and Sudan, sneaky good game. Sudan, Burkina Faso, each with 1 win and 1 loss. So we'll see what happens there. And you could have, a changing of Group E and who would be drifting in if you end up with a result that would say if Sudan were to beat Burkina Faso would slip into the third place conversation at 3 points and 0, and they might be toward the top of the top third place teams to go in. Then in Group F, Cameroon and Ivory Coast each with 4 points. Ivory Coast once again taking on Gabon, who has not scored a point in this tournament. And then Cameroon and Mozambique would probably be the other one to keep an eye on because Mozambique is at 3 points, and they've scored the most goals in group going up against Cameroon, who is right now at the top of the group. So if you end up with Mozambique getting a win over Cameroon, Cameroon would then be part of the discussion for third place. Would they finish second? Would they finish third? But you would imagine that Ivory Coast would take care of business and they'd go to 7 points. So Cameroon and Mozambique has third place energy, and Burkina Faso and Sudan has third place energy. So keep an eye on those as you go this weekend and go tomorrow. So this is the end of This is the end of the group stage. We get ready for the knockouts on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. Everything is lined up after today, after about 4 o'clock in the afternoon East Coast time. So that is AFCON as we know it. Let me see if I've missed anything in the other news sections that are attached. Let me see. Like I said, and I'm buzzing through all of the stuff as we have it. Crystal Palace hoping Brendan Johnson agrees to join in time to face Newcastle January 4 as they await the green light. Palace already have a medical scheduled. And please. According to Football España, Barcelona is going to host their latest presidential election. Number of candidates keen to oust Joan Laporta. One of those is Marc Syria, whose campaign falls under the name Movement 42. Background is in economics and finance, sees him as the ideal candidate to solve Barcelona's financial woes. He intends to get it done by bringing Lionel Messi back to the club. Okay. It's not going to eat a barbecue. It's about proposing a real project in which Leo Messi is a strategic partner for the club. The entourage and the people who decide with Leo have a project for him to be a strategic partner in all areas which we urgently need to increase revenue. Just one fact, we are generating €994 million in revenue. In the 2017-18 financial year, with, for me, the worst board of directors in the history of the club, we generated €990 million. If I only apply inflation, the cost of living Barca today should be at €1.2 billion in income. Either we realize that Leo Messi is strategic, not for today, but for the future of the club and to protect and preserve the ownership model, or you're not understanding the world of sport. Syria was asked about whether he would try to bring Messi back before he retires. Quote, I would love for Leo to say goodbye to the pitch as a Barcelona player, but if it can't be, let it be as an institutional and commercial figure who's going to give us the resources we need. So keep an eye on the next presidential election for Barcelona, and we will see what happens there. And so Marc Syria wants to bring Leo Messi back. Sure thing. You have fun with that. All right. Let's check news and notes and all the things that have been left unsaid before we exit here for the year of 2025. Like I said, we'll no show tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday. Nino and Nico, 10 and 10:30, and your power hour is there, and 9 and 10 will get you ready for the weekend, and we'll lay out everything for you there as we go. So, yes, United was booed off the pitch as Wolves sealed their first point in 86 days. 86 days. And West Ham had a lead twice before Brighton came back for the draw at 2-2. And let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed. Antoine Semenyo on the verge of completing his City move. No real surprise there. Let's see. Villa criticized the Premier League over 2 trips to London in 75 hours. They say it's a mystery why they have such a hectic festive schedule and also have to face Arsenal twice before they play Forest in this term. Once again, Ollie Watkins gets Villa the win 2-1 over Chelsea on Saturday, but then they had to return to face Arsenal on Tuesday. Unai Emery remained confused about why Villa are playing Mikel Arteta's team for the second time in league before they've even played Forest. Unai Emery, the only thing I don't understand is why we are playing after Arsenal, Nottingham Forest at home. Day 19 is not against Forest, which is the first half of the season. This is the only thing I don't understand. Circumstances are not in our hands. We must accept it and keep going. And so the two trips to London in 75 hours. Damian Vidigani, the club's director of football operations, took to the 280-character app to expand. Totally understand our manager. Why EPL brings the match day from second half of season before match day 19 has not a clear explanation. I asked EPL people, and they didn't tell us, so it is a mystery. This makes more convenient the fixtures for certain clubs that are not traveling on this very busy Christmas period. I let you take a look at which clubs are playing home both at last and next match. To make us play 2 away games in less than 72 hours will never be an excuse, but we agree it is much better on the recovery side playing twice at home and not travel. We are not having any influence. It would be a disgrace if the fixtures become a political territory, end quote. Despite Vidigani's comments, according to the Times, Premier League say they've spoken to Villa and insist the situation is within their rules. So, no surprise. But yes, within their rules and within their purview, and they can decide what they want to decide. And they decided that you, Aston Villa, you're going to be traveling. You're going to be traveling for the next, you're going to be traveling for 2 of your festive fixture matchups. That's just how it's going to be. Literally, that's just how it's going to be. As I sit here and check the Guardian and their end-of-season fundraising campaign, which is doing fairly well, but still needs to go over the top. DAZN has been ordered to honor an 84 million euro Belgian TV deal after terminating the contract. They have to resume payments of 6.6 million euro a month. Said the agreement was not valuable without a carriage deal. So they've been ordered to honor the remainder of the TV deal with the Belgium's Pro League after the streaming service announced last month it was terminating the contract. In a judgment from Belgium's Center for Arbitration and Mediation, sent to the clubs on Wednesday morning, DAZN has been told it must continue broadcasting and paying for the Pro League until 30 June, unless the Center for Arbitration and Mediation declares otherwise, and that would cost it about 53 million euro. They've been ordered to pay 25% of the Pro League's arbitration costs, warned it will be fined 50,000 euro a day if they don't meet specified requirements. Triggered the legal dispute by withholding the November contractual payment, although it continued to broadcast matches, on the grounds that it had been unable to agree a financially viable distribution deal with Belgium's TV operators, Proximus and Telenet. Pro League games have been available via only their app this season, a model the company said was not commercially viable. 12 months ago, DAZN won a 5-year deal worth 84.2 million euro a season, claimed that without a wider distribution deal, it could not continue under the original terms. An arbitration tribunal on the matter is due to be constituted in the spring, and then could interim measures could be issued at that point. So DAZN was successful, remember, in breaking their deal with Ligue 1 1 year into a 5, agreeing to pay 100 million euro to the LFP in compensation after a vote of the clubs. Ligue 1 responded to the collapse of that TV deal, becoming the first of Europe's top 5 to launch a direct-to-consumer streaming service to broadcast matches. Subscribers numbers have been disappointing. Ligue 1 has forecast paying only 142 million euro to clubs in media rights fees this season, including 30.1 million euro to the champs. Liverpool, as a comparison, got almost 175 million pounds from the Premier League after they were crowned champs last year. French clubs remain unhappy. DAZN was allowed to walk away without a legal challenge. Feelings that the result of the Belgian arbitration are likely to magnify. DAZN's position, and this is from The Guardian, DAZN's position in the market is curious, given it's defaulted on 2 major rights deals with European leagues, but last year paid $1 billion to secure exclusive global rights for the Club World Cup after receiving an equity injection from Surge Sports Investments. Last month, they also extended their contract with La Liga to do 5 matches each week in Spain until 2032, costing it about €500 million a year, an increase of 6% on the deal. Then the other news, African football now has fresh allegations over the General Secretary's CAF conduct. Once again, also coming from Ed Aarons and Romain Molina, not really people that you want to have on a byline. General Secretary of CAF, the Confederation of African Football, Veron Mosengo Omba, ignored a recommendation that Pierre-Alain Mongwengi was ineligible for election to their executive committee because he'd been accused of covering up widespread sexual abuse in Gabonese football. Mongwengi, the president of the Gabonese Football Federation, has been accused of failing to act on reports of sexual abuse and rape of young footballers in a series of stories first published by The Guardian back in 2021, denying the allegations. And there's no suggestion Mongwengi has been accused of sexual abuse himself, although he has not yet been formally charged. Mongwengi spent 6 months in custody awaiting a decision from the authorities in Gabon and was visited by CAF president Dr. Patrice Motsepe with a final ruling on his case pending almost 4 years on. Part of CAF's election process to its executive committee, 24 members that include Motsepe and Mosengo Omba, that makes decisions on African football, including scheduling of AFCON. All candidates are required to undergo an eligibility test that's conducted by the governance committee. Sources claim to The Guardian that all but one of the committee's members felt that Mongwengi should be considered ineligible for election in 23, a recommendation subsequently dismissed. It has also been alleged by several sources within the governance committee Mosengo Omba bypassed a request for an independent legal opinion on his eligibility and instead insisted they consult Mongwengi's personal lawyer. It's been claimed this represented an obvious conflict of interest. So that is required reading today from our friends at The Guardian. Let's see if there's anything else that has been missed or that I missed as we go. Don't forget to set your fantasy teams because you are in that time of year where it is back and forth, and you got to get things done quick. Like if you're going to get your fantasy teams all squared away and locked up in place the way they should be when you're playing multiple matches in a week. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I have missed. Transfer updates from Miguel Delaney and Will Castle. Let's see. January window opens tomorrow. Mo Salah set to stay at Liverpool as Saudi interest is now cooled. Liverpool is unlikely to revive the pursuit of Mark Gahey. We mentioned the 35 million that the pounds that is there for Crystal Palace agreeing to that fee for Brendan Johnson. Manchester United is monitoring RB Leipzig winger Jan Diomande, and Mikel Arteta is urging Arsenal to be active in the transfer market. Liverpool set to recall James McConnell and Owen Beck from their loan spells. All parties have agreed to cut McConnell stay at Ajax. Beck is out injured, returns after spending the first half of the season at Derby. Newcastle recalls Antonio Cordero before shipping him out on loan again. His loan spell at Westerlo has been cut short, leaving immediately to join Cadiz for the remainder of the season. Enzo Maresca's job definitely under threat, according to Kave Solokal. Sharp drop-off in results. You end up with Maresca, after following the win at Everton mid-month, used his post-match press conference to claim he'd endured the worst 48 hours since I joined the club. Looks like January is going to be a defining month for him. Christopher Nkunku could be on the move again. Fenerbahce interested in signing the AC Milan forward months after he joined them from Chelsea. Signed for Milan in August for just over £36 million. Scored just twice, but is focused on AC Milan and would prefer to stay rather than convince the club that he wants to go. Villa are on the verge of signing Brazilian starter Alisson from Grêmio for a deal worth about £10 million. Thomas Frank has been rather quiet about the whole Brendan Johnson saga. Napoli is set to sign Rasmus Højlund permanently, looking to trigger the buy clause for Manchester United next summer. According to their director, Giovanni Manna, they'll pay 38.4 up front, 5.2 in potential add-ons. According to Fabrizio Romano, 7 plus 3 in 19 matches for Napoli this year. Strasbourg has been considered an outlet for James McAtee, according to Fabrizio Romano. £22 million pound move from Nottingham Forest. Initial talks have taken place, and Leeds have also been linked to McAtee as well. West Ham looks like Wolves won as much as £40 million for Jurgen Strand-Larsen, and he's only scored 3 goals this year, and he's still the leading scorer for them, who scored 9 or 10. Wolves, meanwhile, could move for Sam Surridge, according to Miguel Delaney, and among several strikers options, according to Sky Sports. And let's see, that is that newspaper. So I've done that one. And so I'm trying to figure out which newspapers I've forgotten to work through. So that one, did that one. So, and we did that one. So, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Silly me. I knew what else we were forgetting. All right. So today it is AFCON 11-2. Multiple locations. You can watch it as it's going on right now. You can watch all the be-ins if you don't have them at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And if you pick up Fanatis, you get all the be-ins, which means you get AFCON, Libertadores, Sudamericana, you get the French League, you get the Polish League, you get Liga 1 Max Pro, TEC, CDO, CDO2, TVV, options to pick up other countries in South America for their league programming as well. And you get that at Fanatis. It helps them out, helps us out, helps you out to continue to add more leagues to your viewing palette. So BN has the double headers at 11-2 in AFCON last day of the group stage. We went over your juice boxes there. FS2 has the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. They got stuff going on right now. There's a doubleheader coming on in a bit. Being in Espanol, simulcasting AFCON. A-League had action early this morning and is going to have action this evening. Also, A-League Femenil, Central Coast in Brisbane is at 12:15. That was this morning. So tomorrow, here's the rundown of everything going on all the TV to watch. CBS Sports Network has the championship, Watford, Birmingham City at 10 o'clock. NBCSN has Crystal Palace, Fulham, Brentford, and Spurs, 12:30 and 3. USA has your other matches, Liverpool, Leeds, Sunderland, Manchester City. They've also got the A-League at 3 o'clock in the morning, Big Fox O&E, your doubleheader from the league we don't talk about, endorse, or promote. NBCSports.com, Liverpool, Leeds, Sunderland, Manchester City. English Championship, Blackburn and Wrexham at 7:30 in the morning tomorrow. Then 6 matches at 10, and Sheffield United and Leicester at 12:30. League 1 at 10, League 2 at 10, Europa League, Twente and Bodo Glimt at 1 o'clock. That is going to be happening tomorrow as well. Peacock has your matchups in the Prem, and that gets you through the day. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed when it comes to activity and players and transfers and all of the things. I think we're in decent shape. Declan Rice could return for Arsenal against Bournemouth, according to Mikel Arteta. Fabian Hertzler accused officials of making a guess with the West Ham penalty that was called. Andy Naylor has Fabian Hertzler accusing the officials of guesswork. Lewis Dunk penalized for a handball blocking a shot by Callum Wilson just before the half. Michael Salisbury didn't award a penalty, changed his mind after he was advised by VAR Stuart Atwell to review the incident on the pitch side monitor. Paquetá scored to make West Ham up 2-1. Hertzler, quote, "No one can say it was a clear handball and VAR footage is not clear enough, so therefore it's just a guess. And we're the best league in the world. To make a decision just because of a guess, I think that's not possible." And he also defended Danny Welbeck's Panenka in the first half that hit the bar that would have given him a 2-1 lead. And he was very complimentary to what Danny Welbeck has done so far this season. So that was the note from Andy Naylor about Fabian Hertzler. Tanzania, get this. Fulham has rejected a £26 million bid for Ricardo Pepi, by the way. Tanzania has reached the knockout stages despite CAF announcing that they hadn't. First time in 45 years. Tanzania finishes third in Group C. Despite failing to win a game and getting 2 points, they'll face the host nation, Morocco, in the round of 16 after qualifying as one of the 4 best third-place sides. Tanzania finished on the same amount of points as Angola, equivalent goal difference, but had scored 1 more goal. Not immediately clear if they would progress after they drew 1-1 with Tunisia. However, CAF's live blog said they'd exited the tournament. CAF's report, however, carried celebratory quotes and said their hopes were still alive. Later in the evening, they confirmed their progress with a post on social media. So Tanzania get Morocco in Rabat on Sunday evening. So that's the rundown there. So co-hosting the next edition in 2027, alongside Kenya and Uganda, getting ready for Tanzania, bringing the tournament to East Africa for the first time since it was staged in Ethiopia back in 1976. So that is the rundown of anything and everything that has been going on this morning when it comes to everything overseas and getting ready for the next go-round of activity today and tomorrow. So what we would ask of you is that you have a fantastic night. If you are in a position to make sure that you are safe, please do so. That's what I want, and that's what we all want. We want you to come back first and foremost. And we want you to have a safe and happy New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Sleep in if you feel so inclined. And we want you to have a whole lot of fun remembering 25, getting into 26, and hope that it is indeed, as Abby says, happy and healthy when it comes to transitioning from this year to the next. Let me see if there's any other points that I missed while we were here. Let's see. Yes, Dylan did have the Disney jokes. Absolutely true. So, yeah, this is what I was thinking, David. You get the llama to mow the lawn for you. That's what I was thinking anyway. So, once again, thanks to David, D. Graham, and Abby, and everybody else that was joining in this morning. It was Morning Four Card. Good to see you in here. Let's see. I'm trying to see Morning Ropes and Alex and Abby and David and Ricky and D. Graham. So it's great to see all of you guys. We'll be back at it again Friday morning. So 46 hours, a little less than 46 hours from now, we'll be back to get you ready for the weekend. Talk about what happened tomorrow on Friday. Nino and Nico in hour number 2, your power hour at 10 and 10:30. And always we are efforting guests and all the topical stories that we have going on. And we'll keep an eye on Transfer Ban Appreciation Day for those of you that follow along with John Textor and at Botafogo. So for all of us here at SDH, to all of you there, once again, stay warm, stay safe, be happy, and let the day be what the day is supposed to be, and the evening here. If it's supposed to be loud and celebratory, let it be that way. If it's supposed to be quiet and thoughtful, let it be that way as well. Thanks to all of you folks for hanging out with us as you always do. For everybody here at SDH, Mutaplat, y'all played safe. Since it is the end of the show, means I get to do this. Thanks for 25, everybody. We'll see you in 26.